You know, it never ceases to amaze me who I talk to in this world of ours, that we all suffer from the same challenges. And I've had the pleasure of working with clients in over 30 different countries. And yes, we have different customs, we have different cultures, but we have the same challenges. You know, people are crippled by the fear of rejection, that they never do anything. Or they're so paralyzed by the fear of criticism that they never go out and act on their authentic purpose in life. Or they're so scared by the fear of poverty that they never tap into their true potential. And if you're like me, I have felt these fears. Man, I used to live in these fears. But I've found a way that you can overcome them. And you're going to be able to do it in 5 seconds. Anytime fear pops its ugly head up, these strategies I'm about to share with you will show you how to eradicate them every time. And it is not a hypey thing. It does work. Now, stay with me, because first of all, we've got to understand, what is fear? And there's many different answers. But at the end of the day, fear is largely, in part, and due to our perception of life and the way that we look at things. Now, true, in our physical world, sometimes there are things that are going to physically harm us, but most of the time, not at all. You see, fear is a negative emotion, and it simply means that emotion is energy in motion. And because it's an energy, we can control it, we can direct it, we can change it. You see, fear is the opposite of faith. And what is faith? Faith is not a religious context. Faith is the ability to see the invisible, which means that you believe what you see in your mind's eye. So if you don't believe what you see, you're going to start to feel fear. So you can flip back and forth between these two states. And what we want to know is we want to increase our awareness, and we want to change our perception of how we see the world. And that way, the fear we experience will change. You see, we're all put in a box at some level. Everybody has a box. This box is also known as the comfort zone. Now, that is where our sum total of our experiences, our routines, our paradigms, and our habits live. Now, this box is a very safe place. Sometimes it's comfortable. Sometimes it's a bit prickly, right? But it's comfortable because we know what to expect, even if we hate the job we're in, or even if we hate the relationship we're in, or even if we're disliking a certain thing, but we know what to expect, so therefore it's a safe place. Now, the problem is, fear is largely experienced when we think of what's outside the box. What's outside in this little area here? I want to know. Well, the good news is, if we dance on the edge of failure, that's where you feel truly alive. We want to put ourselves right on that brink every day, every moment, because when we're on that little edge, we start to feel something we don't feel very often. You see, fear can be a fuel to the winner. You don't have to get rid of fear totally. Like, in fact, you won't be able to. You will be able to overcome it with these strategies I'm about to tell you. But if we are seriously thinking about expanding our life, we're going to be constantly pushing this box. We're going to be constantly looking towards the unknown. And if we look at fear and we try to group it, let's group it into 3 areas. First of all, there is the fear of loss. You know, we're looking at life, going through it, and thinking, what if I jumped and I went into a new career, a new occupation, a new hobby, a new lifestyle, maybe a new relationship? What if I did that? Well, the first thing that generally comes up is loss. Well, I might lose. Maybe if I spend the money to do that program or seminar, maybe if I spend the money to invest in my business, I might lose it. So this is a risk perception problem. Now, what I mean by that is that in life, we look at things with our eyes, but we don't see with our eyes, we see with our brain. And our brain triggers images. And the way we look at life through our perception is largely going to determine our fear. So I ask you, how do you look at life? What's the lens of your life? Do you have the lens of fear, or do you have the lens of faith? What are you looking at, and how do you see it? Because to risk nothing is to gain nothing. And the truth is, we're natural-born risk takers. You can do anything you want, you can lose it all, and you can rebuild it again. This is one of the true beautiful things. So when you're looking at the next move you want to make on the outside there, understand that you're not going to lose. You know, even if you literally do lose your money, think about the experiences you got doing it. You've actually grown in that moment. So when people say, I fear failing, what they're really saying is they fear growing. Because growth happens when we fail, right? If you ask any successful athlete, business person, artist, sports person, whatever the top in the field do, they will say one thing: they've failed more than they've won. How cool is that? Failing more than winning, because their wins end up trumping the enormous amounts of failures they've all had. Think about in your life, your biggest lessons came from when you failed. So don't fear to lose. Do not fear to lose. Fear that you lose the growth. That's what we should fear. Now, the other grouping is the fear of the unknown. It's scary to think about what we haven't done before. But I want you to think on your own life for a minute. Take a bird's eye view. Look at it this way. That box that we're in was created by us, or maybe our family. Maybe you don't like the box, and at this moment you're just waking up realizing there is a box. But either way, the fear of the unknown, well, listen, at one point that box wasn't as big as it is in your life. It's grown to a certain point and now it's stopped. At one point when you were expanding that box, there was always that fear of the unknown, but you kept plugging through. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do today. Use your inner eye, your understanding. Use your perception to realize that the unknown is the exciting part of life. It's where the joie de vivre, that feeling of energy actually comes from. It's like, man, I'm going to try this. I have no idea if it's going to work, but listen, I know if it doesn't work, I'm going to learn a lot. And if I do win, I win big. So how cool is that? The fear of the unknown, do not let it stop you. And if we look at the other grouping, it is the fear of poverty. It's the fear of losing out. It is that fear of, if I lose everything, I'm done. And recently I worked with a coaching client over in Western Australia, and he had lost his job, 15 years in a high management position, earning 6 figures a year. His entire self-esteem was wrapped around that position. And he's so scared of not having money again that it's trapping him. And I'll say the same thing to you as I said to him. I said, listen, you got to get a goal, you got to get an aspiration so big that it pushes you to do what you need to do to get to the next level. But don't ever wrap your self-esteem in the results you achieve. Because therefore, if the results get taken away, well, so does your self-esteem. Now, let's look at how we can overcome fear in 5 seconds. Now, this is really powerful, so stay with me. I want you to imagine you're on the diving board, the highest diving board at your local pool. Okay, it could be like a 5-10 meter platform. Now, maybe you've experienced this feeling before where you're about to jump and it's just this boom, this fear of failing, or this fear of, oh my God, like this fear of death maybe, right? Whatever that fear is, you know that feeling, it's like in your core, you get really scared, maybe you tremble. This is how you overcome fear. And we're going to use that analogy, but you can apply this to business, making that next phone call to that girl or boy you like. It could be applied to anything. Whenever that feeling comes up and you're scared, here's what you do. The first one is, we want to think of the R's. The first R is to recognize. When you recognize this feeling, you have 5 seconds. This is what neuroscience teaches us. This is not just some random number I came up with. You have 5 seconds from the impulse of thought, that impulse of feeling, to make a very quick decision on acting. And now, if you are unconscious of this, chances are anytime this fear comes up to take the risk, you back off. If you're cognitive of it, what you'll end up doing is the second R, which is rebounding. And this is what I encourage you to do. When you recognize that feeling, you rebound. Rebounding means not to not do it. It means that the fear you're feeling is telling you not to take the plunge. And I'm saying rebound, take the plunge. Take the action straight away. Immediately do it. Because then the next hour will kick in. At that point, you start to rewire your brain. And that's when your comfort zone or your box expands. You start to get a new experience. And this is how divers, cliff divers, skydivers, base jumpers, big business people act. At first, the risk was scary. Once you've done it a lot of times, guess what? It's expanded. Now it becomes your new habit or routine. It's very easy to do the same thing. And even if you feel the fear, it's nowhere near as powerful at overcoming. Are you seeing how this works? Now, we've done the 3 R's. There's another R in there. The last R is we want to look at reframing the way we look at life. So we have recognized the fear. We want to rebound straight away. Then we rewire our brain in that moment so our comfort zone expands, or our life starts to expand and our experience expands. And then we want to reframe our perception. This is what the coolest thing is. If we reframe the way that we look at life, if we reframe it and look at it like life is a series of risks, it's a series of growth, it's a series of challenges, it's a series of taking those next steps, even if you don't know the outcome, well then we start to feel fear a lot less. And we start to enjoy the process a lot more. And this is what I really hope you take away from this, is that the next time that fear comes up in your mind and you start to think, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I have the talent, ability, or the resources to do this, you don't let it stop you. Because you know instantly you've got to rebound. And the quickest way is to take an action, some sort of action in the right direction. So the next time this pops up, what will end up happening is your action that you take that immediate action will spawn faith. The instant that emotion, that positive emotion of faith is created, you start to feel better and you start to reframe and rewire your entire brain and nervous system, and it becomes easier and easier to take risks. It becomes easier and easier to go to that next level. It becomes easier and easier to keep the momentum and perpetually building your life. Now, does this mean fear goes away? No. And I would never promise it could. What I am saying, though, is that you don't have to live in it. And even if you feel it, you can still do it anyway. And this is one of the cool truisms of life. My name's Vaughan Liddicoat, and I really hope this has served you today. Please subscribe below for more training where I can bring you this every single week. Thank you very much.